Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Leading You. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope you got so much from the episode with Peter Norris last week. That episode is absolute gold for lessons about identity, about belief, about choice, and how our choices shape our future. So if you haven't listened to that episode, make sure you do. So something I've been thinking a lot about lately is the power of words and the small things that people say to you when you're young, when you're vulnerable, and when you're still figuring out who you are, because they stick and they make an impression. And I don't believe how old you are. I don't believe that matters, because we can buy into limiting beliefs at any age. And that's limiting beliefs from others and also the self-talk that goes on in our own minds. So one of my clients had reached out to a leader that she used to work with for some advice on how to approach stepping up into a leadership position. And this woman said to her point blank, "You are not a leader, so I wouldn't waste my time in applying for that role." Now, that made my jaw drop. And I can imagine what you're thinking right now. And it tells you more about her than what it says about my client. But for a period of time, she bought into that. It ate at her confidence for quite a while. And there was something that Peter Norris said during our chat together that was really powerful. That people rise to the level of the belief that you have in them. And as a leader, I strongly believe that. And I also believe that you rise to the level of the belief that you have in yourself. So let me explain. When I was in grade 3, a teacher told me that I wasn't good at maths. I just didn't have the brain for it, that I wasn't smart enough. And from that moment, everything shifted for me around maths, to the point that I hated school. And I would fake being sick so that I didn't have to go. I'd try and stay at home because I just felt like I wasn't good enough. This is in grade 3. One sentence, just choice words that a teacher chose to use with me. I don't know if it was to make me feel better. You just don't have the brain for that. But it certainly didn't follow on with "you're so good at other things." And it really changed how I saw myself. So that is the power of words, especially when you're impressionable and especially when you trust the person saying it. And here's the thing. Today, there's part of me that still believes that. I still have a little voice sitting there saying, "You're not good at maths. You're not smart enough." And as a flow-on effect, I am actually not great at maths. So I did enough in high school to pass my VCE exams, thank goodness. But I probably made it harder than what it actually was. Now that's one story, but it's not the only one. I had a swimming coach around the same time who told me that I was such a powerful swimmer that I could probably beat the boys. And he would put me in a competition to see if I could do that. Same girl, same brain, same capability, different belief. So I set my mind to beating those boys, and I did it. And sports-wise, I always knew I was good, and I excelled at what I put my mind to, which was swimming, which was netball in particular. And then later on, when someone challenged me to do a triathlon when I was working in corporate, I couldn't run like kilometers. I could run in netball, obviously. Wasn't amazing at riding a bike, and I hadn't swum for years, but I knew I could do that training to actually make that happen, and I did. So then head into high school, and another teacher told me I would fail English. Now, this teacher and I did not have a great relationship. I was a bit of a naughty student. We just did not get along very well. But to tell me that I would fail English, a key subject that you have to pass, really ate at me. But my parents were having none of that. And so they got me a tutor. And so we worked on my English together. And I passed. And I didn't just pass, but we were challenged to write a story that would potentially go into a competition. And I won an award for that story that I wrote. And that same teacher wanted to submit my story into that competition. And I said, no, you are not getting the glory of working with an English student who wrote a story like that after what you said to me. The reason I passed my exams was because I worked with a tutor, and also my parents were not allowing me to buy into her belief. Now that has still stuck with me today, and I still remember it because it tells you that people don't always get it right. Because I have written 2 books, and I've been writing public pieces of work since 2010 in my blog. So I used to write fortnightly, and now I write weekly. And of course, the enormous amount of content that we share on social media now. So 16 years of sharing ideas, of sharing stories, of sharing IP messages, and hearing back from people saying that it's resonated, that it's helped them, and it's made them think differently. So imagine if I'd held on to that original label or the original belief that someone else had of me, of that I was going to fail English. And then there are the bigger moments, the ones that I think hit differently because they matter so much more. So when I was diagnosed with cancer, my surgeon told me on the Wednesday night that my cancer was aggressive and I was in for the fight of my life. Then I saw him again on the Friday, and in between that, I'd had my scans, my PET scan, my MRI, I'd had blood tests. So we had all the information at hand. And when I went to see him on that Friday, which was prior to my surgery on the Monday, all within 5 days, he said to me, "You understand that you're in for the fight of your life?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And internally, I was like, challenge accepted. Like, this is not going to beat me, and this is not going to define me. But he expected something else from me. He wanted to see tears. He wanted to see fear, and he wanted to see, me like, I don't know, falling apart. And it's not that I wasn't scared. I was petrified. I didn't know what was ahead of me. But I had made a decision as to how I was going to meet it. And because we had all the information at hand, nothing was worse than you're in for the fight of your life and your cancer is aggressive. Nothing was worse than that, thank God, because that was enough. But I knew what I was handling. I knew what I was dealing with. And so I put my mind to that. That's just how I am. And then later on, a treating team told me that I would never be in remission. Never. The word never. And to this day, no one has ever looked me in the eye and said that you'll be okay. And early on in my journey, that was something I desperately wanted to hear from people. Those words, you're going to be okay. And I still haven't heard them 5 years in. And I made a decision when someone said that, it actually made me angry. And I was like, how dare you say that to me? How dare you put your limiting belief on me around my life? So again, challenge accepted. And 5 years in, I'm 3 years cancer free. And in 2 years' time, as long as things keep going the same, which I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that they do, I'll be in remission. And I can't wait to see their faces. Now, can you imagine if I had have believed all of that? If I had have taken every one of those statements and made them truth? My life would look very different, because your mindset can be your superpower or it can work against you. So I really needed my mindset to be my ally, to work for me. I need it to be at the top of its game so that I could face into all the uncertainty, the hardship, the ill health, everything that comes with a cancer battle. I needed it to be the best that it could be. So it needed to be fueled with lots of belief and lots of stories where people had overcome challenges, not the limiting beliefs that people had. So going back to Peter's comment, he said, people rise to the belief that you have in them. And when I look back at my life, I've lived both sides of it. And I think that we all do. I had a teacher who believed I wasn't smart enough, that I would fail English. And I am proof of a different story. I had a teacher who said that I was not smart enough, that I wasn't good at maths, and I still carry that. And I still somehow believe that. It is in the back of my mind. I had a coach who believed that I could win, and I rose to that too. Same person, different beliefs placed on me, very different outcomes. So yes, people rise to the belief that you have in them for sure. And the power of belief is so incredible. But here's the part that we don't talk about enough, is that you also rise to the level of belief that you have in yourself. And that to me is even more powerful. Because when we are looking externally for people to tell us how we're going to be, or for people to give us affirming beliefs or praise or validation, we can be waiting for a long time. When we get it from ourselves, when we get that internally, we can fuel that, we can deliver that to ourselves whenever we need it. And that is the power of self-belief. Because there were moments when people believed in me, and yet I didn't believe it yet. And there were moments when people doubted me and I refused to take it on. And that's the difference. That's where everything shifts. Because people will say things, they'll project things very freely, they'll judge, and they'll make comments based on their own experiences, their own limitations, their own view of the world, their own wants to keep you a certain way. So when I look back, or when I talk to other people about why did my medical team put such limiting beliefs on me, people have explained it's because they can't say that you're going to be in remission because they don't know that. They don't want you to get your hopes up. They need to manage expectations, and that's fine. So if I was waiting for that, I'd still be waiting a very long time. So the question is, with everything that people freely espouse to us, what are you choosing to do with it? That is the big question. Are you accepting it without question, letting it shape how you show up, what you go for, what roles you go for, how you think about yourself, how you perceive age, what you avoid? Or are you stopping and deciding for yourself? Because it's not what's said to you that defines you, it's what you agree with. It's not what's said to you that defines you, it's what you agree with. And once you agree with it, you start living from it. You make decisions from it. You reinforce it. You prove it's true even when it's not. So your mindset starts to work against you. So if you're listening to this and something just came to mind, a comment, a label, something someone said years ago that's still sitting with you now, maybe even something your parents said, this is your moment. And your moment can be any stage of your life. It can be now, it can be tomorrow, it can be next month, it can be next week. It depends how long you choose to hang on to this. You get to decide, does that belief still serve you, or are you just carrying it out of habit because you just always have? Because the most powerful shift that you can make is recognizing that just because something was said doesn't make it true. You determine your truth. And if I leave you with one thing, it's this. Your life is not shaped by what people have said about you. It's shaped by what you choose to believe about it. And that is always your choice. So thank you for tuning in to this episode of Leading You, and I look forward to being in your ears soon. And as always, I would so love you to rate and review the podcast on iTunes, please. I would love that. It means a lot to me, and it also helps me get the podcast out into the ears of other listeners. So thanks once again, and I look forward to seeing you soon.